Hey there guys, it's Cyber Ultra here. 2021 is about to come to an end, and it was another hectic year where tons of stuff happened around the world. In terms of Nintendo, there's plenty to talk about, especially because of how they were all over the place trying to adjust to the effects of the pandemic back in 2020. In this video, I want to go over all things Nintendo in 2021, including their announcements, the games they released, as well as how accurate my predictions video at the start of the year was. And that's exactly what I wanted to start with. If you don't care for whether or not my predictions from the start of the year were right or not, then go to the timestamp on screen to skip to my review of Nintendo for 2021. I'll quickly try to rapid fire through my predictions from last year. First off, I talked about the Switch Pro rumors, in which I said that I expected there to be a new version of the Switch with small quality of life changes. I said that I didn't expect it to get an upgrade in power that would make it be able to run more games than the original Switch. And I was right and wrong, because I was right that it didn't get much of an upgrade, but it didn't actually get any upgrade at all in terms of hardware. I also expected them to give it a 1080p screen instead of a 720p screen, and they did upgrade the screen by making an OLED panel, but they didn't increase the resolution like I thought they would. My next prediction was that the sequel to Breath of the Wild would release in the holiday of 2021, which was incorrect. They instead gave it a new trailer at E3 and announced that they're targeting a 2022 release date, which makes me think that if it does end up releasing in 2022, it'll definitely be a holiday title at the end of the year. The next thing I talked about in that video was whether or not Nintendo Directs would return in 2021. This was because we didn't have a full-size Nintendo Direct in all of 2020, we only had mini presentations. I predicted that Nintendo Directs would return in 2021 and that we would get one in the first quarter of the year, which ended up being correct. Another prediction was that I predicted that Bayonetta 3 would release in 2021, but we learned back in September that that game is coming out in 2022. I think saying that it would come out in 2021 back then was very optimistic, but I'm glad we got to see more of the game this year, finally, 3 years after it was revealed. The next thing I talked about was a sequel to Super Mario Odyssey. I said that I believe it's in development, but that I didn't think it would release in 2021. I was correct about how it didn't come out, but as for whether or not it's in development, we still have no idea. It's just purely speculation at this point. I personally think it is in development, but nothing is for sure until we have official confirmation. I also talked about the whole break-free Persona movement that was asking Atlus to bring mainline Persona games to Switch, and I said that it wouldn't happen, and that Atlus would only bring Persona spin-offs to the Switch, which also ended up being correct. My next prediction was that Nintendo Switch Online would receive N64 games, which did actually happen. What I didn't predict is that it would be part of an overpriced upgrade that charges you over double the cost of the original service in order to basically rent a few poorly emulated Nintendo 64 games. After that, I talked about how we would get Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes, which I was also right about. I said that it would use the Sword and Shield engine and polish up the game, but instead, they outsourced it to a completely different studio that replicated the style of the original game with chibi characters and not that many gameplay changes. In terms of Smash DLC, I said that Fighters Pass 2 would be it and that there would be no more DLC after it was over. I also predicted the release windows of the rest of the DLC and ended up getting those exactly right. I didn't make any character predictions in that video, but throughout the year I made plenty of videos speculating about Smash DLC related things and ended up being right about some things and wrong about others. My next prediction was that we wouldn't get Mario Kart 9, which was correct. I also said that there was a slim chance we could get Splatoon 3 in 2021, and even though it didn't release, we did get an announcement of the game. The next prediction was that we would get a brand new 2D Metroid from Mercury Steam, and that it would come out in the middle of the year, around the summertime. I was right about there being a new Metroid, but was wrong about the release window. My next prediction was that they would release a new Mario Party, which was correct. I expected it to be Super Mario Party 2, but it ended up actually being Mario Party Superstars. My final game-related prediction was that ARMS 2 may have had a chance of being in development, but we didn't hear anything about it. This was based off of how they were really pushing for the game in 2022, especially with Min Min and Smash and the free game trial on Switch Online, but in 2021 we really didn't see much of that anymore. The last prediction wasn't really game related, but I talked about the controversies that were happening with Nintendo in 2020. I didn't predict this, but I hoped that Nintendo would treat their fans better and not shut down as much stuff. In 2021, they did still shut down a couple Super Smash Bros. Melee related events and didn't really put any effort into doing better with the fans, especially competitive Smash fans. One thing that could be huge though is the partnership they announced with Panda, which is the first officially licensed Smash Bros. Melee and Ultimate circuit. I honestly don't trust Nintendo with this at all, but I do trust Panda a lot since they've been an integral part of the competitive Smash community and have always done the best for the scene. It's just a matter of waiting. I hope Panda being involved means that it'll be amazing, but we'll really just have to wait and see. And that was it for my predictions from the start of the year. I think I got a decent amount of them right, but I also got some pretty wrong ones. Now I'll talk about my overall review of the year. 2021 came after a mostly dry 2020, so expectations were high and I think it delivered on many fronts. Nintendo Direct presentations came back in full swing, so announcements-wise, everything was back to normal. In terms of game announcements, we got tons of titles revealed for 2022, but I plan on talking about my predictions for 2022 in another video. Those announcements really helped build up excitement for next year, but in this video I only wanted to focus on things relating to their actual release schedule in 2021. I'll start by talking about the first half of the year, which had a lot less than the second half of the year, which we've gotten used to at this point. We started off the year with the usual Wii U port, which was Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which people had been waiting for a long time. Bravely Default 2, New Pokemon Snap, Famicom Detective Club, Miitopia, Monster Hunter Rise, Game Builder Garage, and Mario Golf Super Rush were the main highlights of the first half of the year. Depending on your taste, this could have been really good, but I can also see it being pretty boring for others. Having a brand new Pokemon Snap game releasing after so many years of fans asking for it was great, and I've heard tons of good things about Monster Hunter Rise, which I'll have to try out eventually. The lineup had a good amount of variety, but there wasn't anything personally that stuck out to me. Back in 2020, there weren't too many titles in the first half of the year, but it did have Animal Crossing New Horizons, which was a huge highlight. This year was the opposite, where there was likely something for everyone, but not something that everyone was collectively excited for. And Nintendo likes to save those types of games for the holiday season anyways, so it wasn't too much of a surprise that we didn't get one. Overall, a solid lineup for the first half of the year, but the main releases almost always end up coming out in the second half of the year. Before getting to that though, I wanted to talk about some of the DLC and other things that Nintendo released throughout the year. We got DLC for games like Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and more. I wanted to highlight Animal Crossing and Smash. The final free update for Animal Crossing New Horizons added an insane amount of new content. Even though it would have been nice to get more, this is a great way of completing the game. I previously wasn't as big of a fan of New Horizons compared to its predecessor New Leaf because I felt that New Horizons was pretty bare bones, but the final update really changed that. There was also the paid DLC, which I've heard really good things about, but haven't had the chance to try out yet. This year also came with the final 3 characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. People have been enjoying the Smash hype train for years, and now this era has finally come to an end. We're not getting a new Smash game for a long time. The final 3 characters were Pyramithra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Kazuya Mishima from Tekken, and Sora from Kingdom Hearts, who is the most requested Smash character. Overall, a great conclusion to a time that people will look back at for years to come. Another huge thing that happened for Nintendo this year, outside of game releases, was the announcement and release of brand new hardware. After tons of speculation, we finally got an upgraded version of the Switch with the Nintendo Switch OLED model, which didn't really upgrade the hardware's capabilities, but did give it a bunch of quality of life changes. I personally don't have any need for this since I mostly use the system docked, but it's a nice option to have. It also makes me think that we won't get a Switch Pro ever, and that Nintendo will just move straight to the next generation when it's time. But that's a whole different discussion. This year also saw the release of Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack, which gives people access to Nintendo 64 titles, Sega Genesis games, and free access to the Animal Crossing DLC. People were initially excited, but that quickly died out once Nintendo revealed the price, which rivals competitor services like PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live. The difference, though, is that those services actually give members plenty of benefits, and their online services are great. Nintendo is charging $60 a year for a service that doesn't function well with a drip feed of retro games tacked on. Nintendo Switch Online continues to be a complete failure on Nintendo's end, and it's honestly embarrassing that they're struggling to get online right in 2021, while Xbox had it down nearly 2 decades ago. Now though, let's get back into the games. The last thing to talk about are the game releases in the second half of the year. We got Skyward Sword HD, WarioWare Get It Together, Metroid Dread, Mario Party Superstars, and Shin Megami Tensei 5. Skyward Sword HD and WarioWare are good titles that I'm sure plenty of people enjoyed, but the real highlights are the holiday games. Going into 2021, I never expected a Metroid game to be the holiday title for Nintendo, and for them to give it such a huge marketing push, but I'm glad it happened. It received critical acclaim and won Best Action Adventure at the Game Awards, which is a huge accomplishment for a series that people thought would be dead. Metroid Dread has paved the way for the future of the Metroid franchise, and people will look back at 2021 for being the year that gave the series new life. Another holiday title was Mario Party Superstars, which in my opinion is the first good Mario Party game in years. The Mario Party series has struggled to recapture the joy of the first 8 games ever since ND Cube took over development of the series. People said that Super Mario Party was a return to form, but I didn't really see it that way. While it did return to the original board game format, the life of the series was still gone. Mario Party Superstars fixed that in my eyes since it draws from the minigames and boards of older games. I've had a blast playing the game with friends and family, and it's the first time in years that I can say that I actually like a modern Mario Party. The last game I wanted to talk about was Shin Megami Tensei 5, which I haven't gotten the chance to play yet, but looks really cool, and I've heard that lots of people are enjoying it. Anyways, that's all I had to say about the titles that were released this year from Nintendo. Overall, I'd say that 2021 was pretty good and definitely an upgrade from 2020. There was a consistent flow of news and excitement, solid game releases with a couple highlights at the end of the year, and an overall nice return to what felt like a normal year for the company after the hectic nature of 2020. I plan on making a video talking about my expectations for 2022 because with what we know so far, it's already looking to be a contender for the Switch's greatest year. With that said though, I hope everyone has a great 2022, and I'll see you all in the next video.